Durham, North Carolina.
All right. Nice part of town.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
cool, man. Well, would love a little background on you. Tell me, I like to hear born and raised, but also give me a sense of the journey to that you've taken to get to where you are now. And then
Okay.
lastly, tell me about where you're at now and kind of what some of the main challenges are.
Yeah. So born and raised in Durham. Pretty much just left for college. I went to college, Hampton University in Virginia. So I was there for in that area for about 5 or 6 years. Moved back here and it's been here ever since. And started this as like a side thing. It's called Natty Neckwear. So it's a an accessories apparel brand or company that we do like neckties, bow ties, pocket squares, different stuff like that. Started that, as a side thing about 9 years ago now. So yeah, 2011, and just been playing with it off and on, doing custom projects, and for a while I was dropping like lines every season, um, and never knew necessarily which way I wanted to go. Saw some successes here and there, but nothing major.
Yep.
um, and I think where we are right now, at the beginning of this year I kind of decided that I wanted to stick with going more towards the custom route. So just doing like custom weddings and stuff, branding products or whatnot for like schools and events and stuff like that. And then COVID hit, and we started doing masks. So I mean, the demand has been great. But I think at this point, it's like, where do we go to scale? I think masks are going to be around for a while. We've had the opportunity to also work on some other things, as well, in that same medical health space, but just with like consumer products and stuff. And so it's just like, which way should I go? How do I expand? Because we're being asked to do like bulk products now, like, or bulk orders, 50 to 100, plus. And so it's like bringing on somebody else because I
50
can't
to
do
100 plus
everything.
what? Masks or something else?
Yeah, 50 to 100 plus masks, right now, is what we're kind of calling our bulk orders. So anything more than 50 is bulk, and we've had a few right now, companies or agencies, organizations that have reached out and are interested in doing that. And we can do that, but I want to see or know how to scale that and also bring people on to the team, even if it's just, on an as needed basis. So like contractors or something like that, sewing contractors and different stuff. So kind of like right there, and then marketing and promoting even that, side of the business and whatnot,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, that's helpful. I mean, I think okay. So so well, you've been capturing some of the dollars floating around that have been dedicated to this whole pandemic, like
Hmm.
obviously it's been a big economic shock, but dollars have been reallocated into the environment, and those who have um, set themselves up have been able to capture some of those dollars,
Hmm.
right? Some in a bigger way, some in a smaller way, but at the very least, you are, tapping some of those dollars, getting busy, getting some work, and producing some masks. Um, so I start there because short term is a short term is a short term, right? It's like,
Hmm.
all right, we gotta, do you have a job that you work on the side, or is this your full time thing, or how
No,
does that?
this is the full time right now. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So great. So this is helping you, meet your needs at the moment.
Hmm.
Um, um, and however, it's not like you said, it's not necessarily a path forward. It's a path now.
Hmm.
So I think what I heard that um made me think what I heard made I digested it, and it made me feel like, okay, the CEO has to decide where they want to take it,
Right.
right? And it's like that's not something that I mean I can guide you and I will now, but like that ultimately will come from you. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is to say, okay, has this made you privy to a niche that you feel that you have room to continue fulfilling down the road? I.e., you can continue going into that designing things for medical professionals. For instance, beyond the masks, maybe you start doing the little robes that they use. Maybe
Mhm.
you make, I think a lot of them have like, like these little clips that they attach to their pocket and like zips up for their key fobs and shit like that.
Mhm.
As an example, right? Maybe you do the little scrubs,
Mhm.
right? Like that, right? So just as an example, me as CEO, I would say, okay, cool, I'm here. We can it's either you see this as just a cash now play, um, right? Or you see
Mhm.
this as a cash now play, but also there's more room to grow in here, let me see.
Mhm.
Or you say, this is cool for now, but like, let's get back to that original value proposition that we still feel there's room, for
Mhm.
to grow. Because your main thing pre-pandemic was you made accessories, right? Like men's accessories,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So that said, I would first decide that, and then the very next thing I would do is seek to build brand around what direction it is that you want to go in, because especially right now, it is a very, very brand driven consumer environment.
Mhm.
Um, like before this pandemic, people would shop from generic. I mean, people are still shopping from generic brands, I guess,
Mhm.
but more and more, especially as the physical touch points is all gone,
Mhm.
and you can't rely on that salesmanship or whatever. Like more and more now, that void that the physical presence being removed left
Mhm.
is being filled by, oh yeah, yeah, I know this. Yeah, yeah, I fuck with this brand. Like, oh yeah, I seen him around.
Mhm.
And like so people are just continuing to shop. It's just been accelerated from who they know and trust, right?
Mhm.
And like so when I was running Harlem Capital, all of the consumer products, it was very interesting because um almost 100% of the time the real differentiation ended up being nothing really
Right.
with the product itself.
Mhm.
Right, like, we invested in a skincare line and, they were the first ones to tell you, like, "Look, man, we got our little formula and it like, a product formula and it works. It's not that differentiated," but
Right.
what was differentiated was, like, that team in this particular case happened to be very good at, like, they were just, numbers beasts, like, they were really good at running ads, so it was just like an ad arbitrage machine. They would find international markets like in the Philippines and shit like that,
Mhm.
create products, and then, acquire a customer at like 13 cents and then have an average order value of like $70. And they
Mhm.
just had like this killer margin. And that's what they were good at. I've seen and we've also invested in product and consumer products that were the exact opposite, where they were just more brand centric. Like they were really passionate type around
Mhm.
the specific one product that they made, and they were really good at building community that then turned into customers. We've seen consumer products really good at honing in on a niche, like servicing like big, like B2B to C type thing. So we invested in a guy from our angel portfolio. He made men's shirts, right?
Mhm.
But his differentiation was not necessarily the shirt. It was that he sold into wholesalers like
Right.
Nordstrom, and like that's what he
Mhm.
got good at. Right. And then
Gotcha. Okay.
he would just get a little bit of shelf space. I think he closed 100 Nordstrom deal, and he was in,
Okay.
a bunch of different Nordstroms. And um that the shirt, he did have a different measurement system that he swore by, made it different, but
Mhm.
as a consumer of the shirt myself,
It's the
it's just a
shirt.
regular fucking shirt,
Right.
but that's what he got good at, right? So
Right.
all I'm saying is like, okay, if I were your co-founder, let's say, I would say, "Okay, cool. Are we treating this, mask inflow as, like, cash now, but let me keep our sights on what we want to build brand around for the future and just use this money now to just continue funding our operations?
Hmm.
Or are we going to continue leaning into here because we feel like there's something there? So now I'll kick it off to you and ask kind of where you're at with that.
Yeah, definitely some thoughts that I've had. Like I said, I think that it's going to be around for a while. That's why I jumped into it. So yeah, I definitely. So when you gave the first three options, I'm number two. Like I think this is not I don't see it as a short term play necessarily. I see it as like let's dig into it even more. And especially since now I'm getting tapped for doing potential scrubs and the caps and all of those things,
Cool.
stuff that I had never even thought about. And so like I want to dig deeper into that.
Nice.
But I think where I'm having some challenges or some confusion is just the fact that like I have this, I mean, quasi, I have a brand, that I'm already doing that has been branded as this, neckwear kind of company or whatnot. Like, do I completely um jump ship and change like the brand totally? Because that's what I was thinking about in the beginning. Like I didn't want Mask necessarily to fall under this brand because like it hasn't been built that way. Or do I just build the mask and that stuff into this brand and build from there and like expand the product line, if you will? Like I don't know how both of those would work together because we're talking about menswear and then we're talking about maybe some like medical or non-medical grade, but like can be used in some spaces.
I think they both could work.
Okay.
I think because of the amount of history that you have with the neckwear thing, and,
Hmm.
it's from 2011, I think
Yeah.
you would be fighting against yourself because if you try to put it under the same brand because all of your SEO and stuff like that is gonna be based around that. And for me, if I were you, I would probably just create a new laser
Brand.
focused if you're gonna go in on it. That's why I was
Hmm.
asking earlier, right? Like,
Right.
and based on what you're saying, like, hey, there's scrubs, there's caps, there's this and there's that.
Yeah.
I personally would create a new
Okay.
brand that even the name would speak to, medical equipment. Like, I would because, I don't know how long you've been following my shit, but, like, I believe in riches and niches, and, like, that is and the value of being in a niche is you can really dial in your specificity, your
Yeah.
messaging, your website. Like, I literally would make a brand that when you go to this, I would just make a quick little Shopify site or Squarespace site or whatever,
Yeah.
and, when you go to it, it says specializing in
Hmm.
medic because then you'll be able to capture more and more dollars if people feel like, "Yo, this is all you do."
Hmm. Hmm.
Right, and
That
then
makes sense.
in the origins of the company, you can say, our founder ran, an accessories business for a decade,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
got this opportunity, and, we created this brand to, whatever. So it's not that you're pretending that you're just that's part of the evolution, and what you're
Gotcha.
spotting here is effectively a new business.
Hmm.
It's a new line of business, and
Right.
for me, I think that brand slash name could fall into 3 buckets. It could hurt you, could help you, or it could be neutral, right?
Can you explain? Yeah.
So when you have a name, like let's go with a name as an example. When you have a
Hmm.
name that like a name like WeWork, that
Hmm.
name helps, right? It's got an alliteration, it's catchy, it says what it does in the name WeWork, and it's
Hmm.
super spot on and whatever. So cool, that name helps. A name that hurts is like my first company. It used to be called John Henry Cleaners, and that was in the neutral bucket. Like it was maybe even slightly help because it said what it did. But
Hmm.
I wanted to like have a cool, fresh name or whatever. And the name I came up with was Mobile City, which is a bad name. A,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't flow that well, but then also B, people used to call me and be like, "Hey, yeah, do you do cell phone repairs for
Yeah.
phones?" And I'm like, "No, what I meant was it's a city that's on the go," and I had to explain it way too fucking much, man.
Yeah.
That name was a dud. It definitely hurt. But we
Okay.
still did
Okay.
well, but it just worked against me, right?
Right.
And then
Right.
there's the name that's neutral, like Apple. That's just like it's just a name, and they you can build the trust into it. So
Okay.
all that to say, I think you building this new medical wear line under
Mm-hmm.
your old name will hurt only because
Mm,
when people will search, they'll see a bunch of like neckwear shit and they'll just be like, is this it? And you can change the stuff on the site, but you have a lot of history. It's not like you've been doing it for a
mm-hmm.
year. So like
Yeah.
it'll be confusing and you might have some business slip through the cracks as a result.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this then. In creating a new brand, because we've been doing this since the mask, only since April, well, since everything started. But like in making a new site, because I do use Shopify. Like, do you point people to the new site, but like because of just some history that I have over the last 3 months, we've had repeat customers. They may go to that old site. So is it just like on the old site or on the current site that we're using, point them like when they click that link or whatever for mask on the old site, like it directly points them to this new brand that we're coming out with.
That's probably what I would
Is
do.
that
That is probably what I would do. I would All right, so look, you're not gonna create this brand overnight. It doesn't take a lot.
right?
Obviously, you can make a Shopify site in a day. I would
Right.
spend a little bit of time trying to think of a nice name.
Okay.
Not so much, but, a decent amount of time,
Mm-hmm.
coming up with a nice little name, that works. I would, flush out what the branding is gonna be. So, for instance, like, I like, do you make funky shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Funky, expressive, cool caps and stuff like that, like, maybe that's the positioning, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just making
Yeah.
something up, right? Like, whatever
Right.
is gonna be, right, like, it's either performance, which, that's my guess is you're not that, right? Like, because you're not an industrial medical grade
Right.
supplier that's gonna
Nah.
supply, like, the most advanced fabrics, you know?
Yeah.
I'm guessing because of your background in, like, accessories that you might make cool, like, funky kind of caps that keeps a otherwise pretty bland, like, uniform. It jazzes
Yeah.
it up, right?
Yeah.
So, assuming that that's the play, I would come up with a nice brand that encapsulates that, build out your positioning, what the vision's gonna be, all that stuff, and
Okay.
start building out the site, right? Build it all out, and then as it's built out and you have it hosted on Shopify and it's you either maybe have it unpublished or it's published, but no one knows the link yet. I would
Mhm.
then inform all my customers that, hey, we have exciting news. Introducing X name. You know,
Okay.
uh, you know, we, we are launching a new brand that's going to exclusively focus on medical grade equipment due to,
Mhm.
by popular demand. We are launching this brand. We're super excited. Um, and just so that they start getting familiar. Not all customers will see the email, by the way.
Right. Right. Right.
Some will, some won't, but like you'll start training them because you don't have a whole lot of history. You It's still good timing, right? It'd be different if you
Okay.
were doing this for like a year or 2 years, and then you have a little bit more to consider. But in
Yeah.
this case, you've done but a few bulk orders, and those bulk orders are placed by one stakeholder, right?
Mhm.
So, so, um, yeah, I think there's room to just retrain them while you're early enough in the cycle. And
Okay.
then the cool thing is when they start clicking over into this website, they'll then see your different universe of products that you'll have, and it might even increase the probability with which they say, "Oh shit, not only do we want the bulk masks, but wow, these scrubs are kind of cool, these caps are kind of cool." And
Right.
then, you can build that out, which I think is exciting. And I think, my sister is a medical professional and yeah,
Nice.
she just wears the light blue. It's a drag, you know?
Right. Right. It's the
She
basic
probably,
joint.
because a lot of them are women, that, like, they're at work, but they wouldn't mind having a little bit of a cool thing to wear at work, and
Right.
then if you can get to the point where you're ordering, like, bulk, or even custom branded hospital, like, Memorial Sloan Kettering, like robes, let's say, um,
Mhm.
fuck around, they order thousands,
Mhm.
to have on deck. Like, I think by virtue of all the shit that's going on, you maybe have been presented with a really lucrative niche
Mhm.
that could go on to be a big business, maybe likely even bigger than the one that you were building before, because the other one was kinda on off, and it's a pretty crowded
Yeah.
space, and it's consumer, and there's
Yeah.
Squares Box and all these companies going for, the same real estate, of someone's tie.
Right. Right.
You were astute enough and self-aware enough to say, "Yo, maybe I should be here in this lane," you know?
Mhm.
So, I'm a
Okay.
I'm a believer in the angle. I think it's a good one.
Okay. Sounds good. Um, yeah, I appreciate that. I think the other thing, I do still it's the crazy thing. I do still like the other brand. So like and because it's been on and off and I've been toying with it, I'm always stuck. It's the baby, it's the first thing that I had ever like launched. It was tangible. I had some traction, it's been good, still have some traction. Um, like do you completely, and I know it's my decision, but I just want to hear your thoughts. Like, do you completely like throw that to the side and say, like, forget it, I'm done with that? Or like how do because I know you've had like a lot of different brands under your belt over the years. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, um, I knowing what I know now, right?
Mhm.
Knowing what I know now, like when I was running, for instance, my very first business, that laundry business, the film and TV thing was exploding for me, right? So I had
Okay.
this laundry business, but I was servicing film and television clients, right? This is
Alright.
why I'm like familiar with what you're going through, where you like by luck or chance you discover this kind of big niche, but I
Mhm.
still loved the idea of building this consumer company like Steve Jobs and like
Yeah.
in hindsight, I spent so much money marketing to customers that only spent 40 bucks with me on average versus
Right.
every film client like Law and Order, they're on season out of God knows what of Law and Order, and we
Mhm.
we did Law and Order for 6, 7 seasons, and,
Wow.
they spent $30,000 every 2, 3 months, and
Mhm.
it's like, knowing what I know now, I would have smacked myself so hard for spending any effort on the consumer shit that was a losing battle when I had a niche that was right before me.
Mhm.
So, I don't know what your goals are. If the tie business, like, brings you joy, then there's something to be said for that. Like, you gotta account for your joy and you
Yeah.
continue making fresh designs. But, if it I just think that there's so much value in striking while the iron's hot. And so
Sure.
many times in my career, I have put something on pause that wasn't as picking up as much when I felt that
Mhm.
something else was popping, because that's the
Okay.
market speaking to you.
Right.
The market is speaking, that's where the market's at, and if it's exciting enough to you, I would just go ham and try and build this brand. Like, that's just probably what I would do
Mhm.
because you just never know. Like that other brand you've been working on 9 years is not gonna go away.
Yeah.
You're not winding it down or anything. You're just respond That's what I believe entrepreneurs do. You kinda respond
Respond.
to the current market reality,
Okay.
right? And,
Mhm.
like, you could fuck around and take a series of the right steps and end up with several hospitals chains as clients and
Mhm.
have, this to me feels like there are less steps that could lead to a really high impact outcome,
Okay.
right? Like the other consumer thing, we already know what we got to do there. It's brand, brand, brand. It's content, 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 content.
Mhm.
So like that's my answer for the consumer thing is like you got to build whatever is going to be your fresh take on that market, whether it's
Mhm.
like, African print or or whether it's like quality or funky designs or subscription box or
Mhm.
whatever. whatever that unique thing is gonna be, I would hone in on it, A, and then B, just build content, and that's kind of a long tail play that as you build that trust, people just buy from you more often.
Bye. Hmm.
Um, uh, but this business feels like, okay, if you get networked in, which it sounds like you're already starting to get networked into the right decision makers, and you
Hmm.
launch and you listen to that feedback from the market and you launch the right set of products, that with a series of steps, you could end up with several multi-hundred or multi-thousand piece orders and probably make more in a year than you have in the last 9 years
Hmm.
with the apparel. That's my sense.
And that, yeah.
Like,
Okay.
so, so I don't know which of those appeal to you. But I probably would just focus in on where the market's leading me.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then, if you want to wear your funky ties to the meetings as an outlet to like still channel the old brand, all right, cool. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and at the end of the day, too, what I like about these sessions is I'm, but I'm sharing, but my thoughts, one man's thoughts. And the thing I like to remind folks is, you know, my feedback is but a mirror. I'm just holding up a mirror, right? Because I'm just sharing a bunch of things that maybe I would consider or do. And the nature of these is like there's certain feedback that's going to resonate more, and there's certain
Hmm.
feedback that resonates less. And that to me, like when I hear something and it resonates a lot, that's like an indication that's what's like that's what I was wanting to happen. Like, have you ever had like a couple designs and you ask a few people like, "Yo, what do you think about these?" And then
Hmm.
they choose the one that you like the least, and you're like, "Yeah, all right, cool." And then you ask someone
Yeah.
else, you're just looking for someone to say, "Oh, I like
To
that one,"
validate.
and you're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, yeah, that one," right? So this is the same process where I'm like, okay, me being you, right? This is what I love about this game. It's all based on the individual operator, so you can win anyway. But me being you, this is what I would do. And of what I said, whatever resonated the most is probably where your intuition lies,
Nice.
you know? So
For
I'm
sure.
excited for you, man. I think it's a
Yeah.
great market opportunity. And I think it's
Thanks.
highly differentiated. It's highly distinct to the time. Um,
Hmm.
and this, I just feel like you were blessed with potentially a really lucrative, powerful niche that you are well equipped to service in a differentiated way because of the last 9 years that you spent building that other brand.
Okay.
And worst case scenario is you build this new brand, you launch a few products, and you do only a few more only a few more bulk orders. So your worst
Hmm.
case scenario is you make some money. Right? Worst case scenario, you have
Yeah.
something tailored for that community that they can always go to and buy from. That's your worst case. That's a pretty good worst case. Because
Yeah.
base case, you start capturing some market share and like, you know, best case is this shit blows up and then you'll have a different problem where it's like, wow, I might not even have the bandwidth or interest to do this other thing. And maybe
Right.
it'll be a push and pull, but like that'll be a good problem to have. But yeah, man, I would, uh,
Okay.
I would go for it. But yeah, man, I'm excited. And I want to stay posted on what you decide. So, let me know.
Yeah. 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 We'll do. We'll do. Yeah. So I'll follow up with you. I guess the best way to reach out or is what DMs or
Yeah, that email
email.
yeah, DMs are good too, but the email that I sent my calendar link on,
Yeah.
that's my actual email.
Okay.
So you can
Okay.
hit me anytime. And if I could be a sounding board for any other kind of little thing like that, I would be happy to.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Well, I appreciate it for
My
sure.
guy,
For sure.
congrats on the traction,
All
man. I
right.
wish you the best
Thanks,
of luck
man.
and let me know. Keep me posted.
All right. We'll do. Appreciate
Peace,
it.
man.
Thanks.